I was just looking for the place to log this show, and I was thinking that I should probably do August, I guess, but then yeah. Oh my gosh, this summer has just gone by. Hasn't even really felt like a summer at all. Yeah. I go back to school this week. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me go ahead and program this in here. August 20 will be the start out with the Midnight Citizen episode number 223. 223. Alright. So there are certain things I have to do before the show that I can't do until I begin the show. So that's odd. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Yeah, welcome. Welcome everybody to the studio here. The Midnight Citizen Studio. We're going to put on a show for you tonight, and we've got a fun one. I always feel like I don't know, Barnum and Bailey when I say that or something. I mean, it's just a very low-key show. Here I am in my studio here in Birmingham, Alabama. Back after a couple of weeks. I wasn't here last week as I was in Chattanooga with my wife. We went up there Sunday, but needed Saturday night just to kind of get things together, and I just didn't want to burden myself with a show. I mean, what can I say? I'm not a professional podcaster, I guess. I try to keep a consistent routine here. At least I've been trying through the summer. And that's what I'm going to try to figure out tonight within the show, is that I feel like I've had a really successful run of shows this summer, just in terms of content, not necessarily in terms of listeners going up, but I don't know. It's just the content is really what I care about. Just coming in here and doing stuff that I'm interested in, talking about stuff that I care about. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the big question is, am I going to stop the show when I start school this week? I don't know. I'm going to have to kind of figure that out. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, welcome in here to the Midnight Citizen Show. We're going to get started here in a couple of minutes with the show proper. But right now we are streaming on YouTube. And if you're watching, yeah, welcome. Looks like there's a couple people watching right now. And nice to see you. You don't have to stay here for the whole show. If you are watching and you've watched in the past, you know that I've done some pretty epic shows this summer. And tonight I'm going to try and keep the show under an hour. Let's see how I do about that. I just want to keep it under an hour because I don't want to be up until 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning working on my show. It's just, I just, like right now, I don't have the time for that, but I am, I still am here and I'm present in the studio, and it's great to have you. So if you want to comment, you want to talk to me, interact with me live, of course, I'm on, Facebook. I never check my Twitter. Don't go there. But you can check, you can go to youtube.com/Mike Booty, chat in the live chat, and all that stuff. So, and if you are asking yourself the obvious question, yes, I just played a copyrighted song. And Don Henley, I understand, is the most litigious of the Eagles. But didn't he just pass away? I don't know. Did Don Henley just die? Am I thinking of Glenn Frey? One of them just died. Yeah, no, I think it was Don Henley. Hang on. Yeah, Don Henley just... No, he's still alive. Okay, 1947. Who am I thinking of who just died from the Eagles? I don't know. Yeah, no, Don Henley, I understand, is very litigious, and he will slap you with a lawsuit. So I'm expecting YouTube to protect me a little bit and take down that part of the live stream. Sometimes they take them down automatically, once you actually post the thing live. So I don't know. But I just wanted to play The Boys of Summer from the album Building the Perfect Beast from 1984, because I always think about that song here toward the end of the summer. There's something that's very haunting about it. The way that you sort of just go out into the streets in kind of late August, early September, and there's just nobody there. There's nobody on the beach. And it just seems like something has been lost. And and everybody is suddenly inside again and having to go back and feed that machine. And so I always think about that song here at the end of summer, because obviously as a teacher, I actually get summers and I get to take time off, and there is a certain depression to that around this time of year. Even though I am ready to go back to work, I couldn't be more ready, quite honestly. I'm very excited about starting work back this week and actually waking up every morning and having a place to go. It's still kind of depressing, just not waking up every morning and just knowing exactly what you're going to do that day. I always enjoy that thing in the summer of getting up and eating my cereal like I'm 12, 13 years old again, and just planning my day. I don't know. It's fun. So anyway, that was Building the Perfect Beast from the album, and that was the song Boys of Summer. So yeah, I'm going to play a little bit more music here while I get ready. I don't have a cup of coffee in front of me. I got to get that. I got a lot of stuff to do here in the next, so we'll try and get a show ready for you in about the next 5 to 7 minutes or so. But in the meantime, enjoy some music, and get that chat going, and I will be back soon. Let me know you're out there. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, testing. Testing. I think I got it solved, right? I think I did. Okay. We'll make it on the next one. It's time for the suburbia. The suburbia. The suburbia. Out along the ride. Thank you. Yeah, I think what happened was that you didn't hear anything of anything that I just said a few minutes ago, but that's okay. It wasn't a part of the show proper. It's all right. Yeah, one thing about being out of the studio for a couple weeks is that the wife has to come in here to do her acting coaching remotely, and we have to get a bunch of sound stuff unplugged, and you think that you get it done, and then you just test it, and it doesn't work out very well. Okay. Well, I was going to use that time to go get a cup of coffee, but now, since I spent that entire song working at the Kinks, I'm now going to go get a cup of coffee, and I will be right back to start the show officially. Well, I don't know. That was just a phantom problem that I couldn't pick up anything on my end. Yeah, so here we are. Okay, back. All right, so we're ready to start. here, and I'm just going to give like one final check to the sound to make sure this wasn't like a few weeks ago when I went the entire show, all 2.5 hours of it, without properly working sound. So yeah. I couldn't pick up anything on my end. Yeah, so here we are. Okay, back. All right, so we're ready to start here. That sounds good. Okay, I'm happy. So anyway, so welcome. I am going to, and apparently, according to Evil, by the way, you could hear my rant about Don Henley and being afraid that he's going to sue me. So good. All right, that's on the record. Okay, awesome. So anyway, okay, so we're going to go ahead and I guess start a Midnight Citizen show. All right, yeah. So anyway, yeah. If you look at that sign above me, it says applesauce. No, I'm kidding. It says applause. All right. This is exciting, isn't it? Yeah. Hang on, I'll start that again, because, I don't know, what should we start with tonight? Should we start with, like, a hard blues shuffle, or a slow blues shuffle? I don't know. Alright, so we'll start. Testing 1, 2, 3. I am just testing my recording software right now. Okay, that's good. We're recording there, too. All right, everything's good. Let's get going. Tonight's thought. It's funny how sometimes a certain mood or a context can make you feel support for the most unlikely of characters. You know what I mean? I had to check my audio again. I was just getting super paranoid just now, but it sounds good now. Okay, I'm listening to it on my monitor, so it sounds fine. We're starting, I promise. Just give me a chance, a second. I had to check my audio again. I was just getting super paranoid just now, but it sounds good now. Okay, I'm listening to it on my monitor, so it sounds fine. We're starting, I promise. Just give me a second. Tonight's thought. It's funny how sometimes a certain mood or a context can make you feel support for the most unlikely of characters. You know what I mean? Yeah, so there I was, and it was Christmas time. And I was in New York City at the Plaza Hotel, which is every bit as nice as I had always thought it was ever since I first saw it in the movie Home Alone 2. You know, the Plaza Hotel is the hotel where Macaulay Culkin stays in that movie when he goes to New York and he gets lost there. And in the lobby, he actually runs into Donald Trump making a cameo in that film, who is now our president. And I think it's weird because the first time I knew about the Plaza Hotel was from watching Home Alone with Donald Trump in it. And now here I am at Christmas time at the Plaza Hotel, years later, attending Donald Trump's Christmas party. And I'm merry and excited. And I have my special gold-plated invitation to join him and his wife Melania Trump and his children and that creepy little son-in-law of his, Jared Kushner. And I go to the elevator and I hand it to the bellman, and he accepts my invitation and opens the, pushes the button, and I get on the elevator and I go up to the top floor to the presidential suite. And I go in there and it's just a beautiful Christmas scene. There's holly everywhere and garland, and there's like 18,000 Christmas trees, and it's snowing outside, one of those wonderful snowy New York nights in December. And I walk up there, and there's people everywhere, heads of state, dignitaries, celebrities. The guy from that show, The Tiger King on Netflix, is there. I can't remember his name. It's Joe Exotic is there, the guy from the Tiger King, and he doesn't have any of his tigers with him or anything, but he's dressed in like what looks to be like a suede like leopard jacket with yellow with black spots all over it, and he's throwing like confetti everywhere or glitter or something, kind of like Rip Taylor used to do. He's throwing it all over the place, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Mike!" And he gives me a big old bear hug. Joe Exotic from the Tiger King show. And he's like, "I've got a Christmas present for you." And he brings out this odd indigo wig, and he just puts this wig on me, and then he just throws glitter in my face, blinding me. But I'm not mad at him. I'm so excited because it's Christmas, and here we all are, heads of states and dignitaries and stars of Netflix shows at Donald Trump's Christmas party at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. What a time to be alive. And I walk up to a big gathering of people. And as I'm walking into the crowd, they slowly separate. And I'm like Moses parting the Red Seas of, black ties and tuxedos with tails. And in the sea of all this black and white is a big shock of blonde hair. You just see it. And it's Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, turning around to me. And he's right there, and his wife Melania is next to him, and she's as beautiful as she could ever be. And she instantly sees me, and she's like, "Oh, Mike, you made it. I'm so happy. Isn't my Christmas party really very fun?" That's a bad impression. Listen, nobody could do a great impression of Melania Trump because she's just that great. When I do it, I sound like a wild and crazy guy, but you have to trust me. Melania Trump is just an amazing presence, an amazing voice, and I'm suddenly just filled all of this contempt that I've always felt for these people. Ever since Donald Trump announced that he was running for office, and I thought it was a joke. He's done this before, and then suddenly he started gaining traction, and he started saying stupid things and using Twitter as this platform to just spew hate. I always hated him for that, but the second that I saw Melania Trump, even before I saw the man that she was standing next to, this president of our country, it all just faded away. And somebody once told me years ago, I think it was in college, it was like an intro to communications class. Somebody once told me that many people, there have been studies done, that many people, when they see a president in person, they're like 90% more likely to like them. Maybe not vote for them, but have a different view of them. Because they see them and they're people. This president may be shorter than you, right? He may have like a soft handshake or something like that. There may just be something that just humanizes this person when you actually see them right there up close and personal. And this is what happened with me and Donald Trump. Because as soon as I saw Donald and he's like, "Hello, Michael, nice to meet you." That sounded more like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But, he shook my hand and his handshake was firm. And I just immediately, just had this feeling that, I misunderstood the guy the whole time. All these years. At the Plaza Hotel, in New York City at Christmas time. Mid-December. Wearing a wig and covered in glitter that Joe Exotic, the Tiger King on Netflix, had covered me in, And then I woke up. Clearly it was a dream. I was not at Donald Trump's Christmas party at the Plaza Hotel. I don't even think the Plaza Hotel is really happening anymore. I'm pretty sure the Plaza Hotel, like Elaine's, is dead in New York culture. I don't know. But, the weird thing is, though, I woke up from the dream and that feeling stayed with me. I woke up a Trump supporter. I woke up feeling this weird kinship with the man, and just for, I don't know, about probably a good 2 or 3 minutes or something, I felt really good, and then I got up and I had my coffee. Now we're back to normal, so. Well, from Birmingham, Alabama, this is the Midnight Citizen Show. I'm your host, Mike Booty. Welcome in. Nice to have you guys tonight. After 2 weeks off, and here we are at the end of summer. This bummer summer of 2020 where just nothing has gone right. It's just been so screwed up in so many ways. And yeah, I wasn't in the studio last weekend. I've been doing a show every Saturday night throughout the entire summer, more or less. I think I missed 1 or 2 here and there. But yeah, just a whole lot of stuff. And I think I wrote it down. I've done nine episodes of the Midnight Citizen Show this year after taking a 3-year break, And last weekend I was off because I just realized that here we are at the end of the summer. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to start teaching again this week. And I haven't taken any vacations at all primarily because most places that I wanted to go on vacation, I'm not allowed to go because I'm from Alabama and we have a high infection rate of COVID-19 here. And if we go anywhere, we have to quarantine for 14 days before we're allowed to do anything. So I didn't want to do that. But we went up to Tennessee, a state that has just as high an infection rate as Alabama does. And we were welcome up there. I don't know. We went camping for a couple days, my wife and I. So anyway, it's good to be back here in the Midnight Citizen studio for another show. But it's funny that I had that dream. I've been having a lot of really bizarre dreams lately. And this usually happens around the time I go back to school, when there's a lot of stress and pressure starting to build up. And it's nowhere near the level it was the first year that I began teaching, when I had to go in and essentially I had 6 classes to prepare for, 6 different preps. You know, there were all 4 English classes. I was also teaching government and economics, and I was teaching an elective a research class that first year. And so I had a ton of stuff to do that first year, but it does get easier each year, you know, because you suddenly have like a whole curriculum to build off of. So it's not as stressful this year, you know. But I do start to have dreams when I get stressed out. At the beginning of the pandemic, when the world was just really losing its mind, I was having some nightmares, and I don't know about you or not, but I was having really terrible nightmares at the beginning of the pandemic. So, and now I'm starting to have them again. But I don't know, a Christmas party at President Trump's place, that's not so bad. I'll take that, I guess. Why not? But it is weird, though, because I woke up, you know, with this sympathy for President Trump, in a way. And this, you know, I had met him in person, and suddenly I felt, like, different. And it made me just think, and last night I was hanging out with some friends, and we were talking about this thing that you can do that almost like, when you put almost anything into a certain light, you know, can you justify yourself enjoying it or liking it or appreciating it? There's somebody having a fight outside my apartment right now, but anyway. But yeah, a certain mood or a context can make you feel support for the most unlikely, you know, of characters. And this was what happened, is that for the last 4 or 5 years, however long it's been, I've always had this, you know, context of President Trump is crazy. He's batshit. You know, he gets on Twitter and he spews hate, and he gets people to gang up on minorities who show up at his rallies to protest him. And then in my dream, I just had this weird imagined scenario of actually meeting the guy, and I just felt completely different about it. So. And yeah, last night I was talking with my friends about how I really am in a position right now where I don't enjoy most entertainment that comes out that's part of the sort of, you know, mainstream. And I always have, and I'm not, you know, not to sound like a snob or anything, but I do like a lot of entertainment, you know, like the Tiger King show. I like the Tiger King, even though I came away from that show totally despising him. But in the weird way, you know, when I met him at Donald Trump's Christmas party, I liked him because he greeted me, and all he wanted to do is give me glitters and wigs and stuff like that. I think I confused the Tiger King in my dream with Rip Taylor's cameo in Wayne's World 2. I'm not sure about that. But we were talking about how, like the Avengers movies, for instance. Let's just take the Avengers movies. I do not like those movies at all. You know, they annoy me. They're loud. They're bombastic. They're nothing but special effects. You know, Robert Downey Jr. gets paid, or I guess he did get paid, you know, millions of dollars to show up for probably 3 days in a studio that's just wall-to-wall chroma key somewhere in Burbank, California. And they just film his face, and then they put it on this big screen. He just gets paid millions of dollars to do that. And to me, whenever I see these Avengers movies, you know, I just think about everything that's kind of wrong with the Hollywood system, with the way that movies are made. And I don't need to go on a rant against that, but, you know. And I always argue with my friends about it because they don't really necessarily like them any better than I do, most of them. But they also say, you got to give them a break. you got to give these Avengers movies a break. Just think about it, okay? It's kind of like sitting on your parents' couch on a Saturday morning, pigging out on cereal and chocolate milk, and just watching the world's most expensive Saturday morning cartoon. And, I thought about that for a second. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because when I go see these movies, I'm thinking of I'm comparing them against all of these great summer movies that I went and saw when I was, a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, where you would go every year and there would be this new concept that would be sold to you. I know that's really hard to imagine today, but just imagine back in the day, you would go what's this movie about this guy who's shrinking his kids and everything? And yeah, that sounds kind of funny. I'll go see that, So you went and saw Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and it was a great movie. And what's this movie about these dinosaurs on this island here, and they break out and eat people? Man, wow, that sounds crazy. I'll go see that, there weren't brands like there are now. Of course, there were still sequels, but there weren't as many brands back then as there are now. Every single thing that comes out is a brand of some kind that you probably already own something of it, or you've seen something connected to it, and all that. And I know I'm not trying to get on a rant about this. I know I'm not trying to kick movies while they're down right now, because there's serious doubt that any movie is going to be released in theaters before next spring or summer or whatever. But I've always stacked these Avengers movies up against summer blockbusters that I used to love when I was growing up, and I always said to I'm worried about kids going to see these movies because they don't have any diversity. There's no diversity in their entertainment at all. It's just Marvel, 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 or Superman, 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 But again, my friend told me, just think about this, It's the world's most expensive Saturday morning cartoon. You liked Saturday morning cartoons. How many times, Mike, were you watching a Saturday morning cartoon and you stopped watching it and paying attention to it halfway through because you wanted to make up these plots of your own, and what was going on in your head could not possibly rival the cheapness of what was going on screen? And I was like, yeah, I actually think that makes sense. So again, after all these years of just bitching about these Marvel movies and all this other mainstream entertainment, I think it's as long as there's a certain way, you look at it under a certain light, it just seems to me to be, you can almost make anything, entertaining. I don't know. Think that most entertainment that we don't get, maybe we're just looking at it the wrong way. This is watching old episodes of the Dana Carvey Show on Hulu, which, if you've never gotten to see the Dana Carvey Show, it is one of the most bizarre, gonzo, out there sketch comedy shows of the 1990s. And it was very daring, Dana Carvey left Saturday Night Live in his prime. He had all these established characters like Garth, and he had the church lady, Hans and Franz. Don't ask me which one he was, but he had all of these killer characters, George H.W. Bush that he used to do, not God, not guh, wouldn't be prudent, He was the biggest star on Saturday Night Live probably since Eddie Murphy. And he left because he got this amazing development deal to make a sketch comedy show. And they shopped it around to all of these networks like HBO and Showtime. He didn't want to be on cable because cable is not like it is now where everybody has a subscription. He would have been appealing to a very niche crowd. So he decided to go to ABC. He wanted to do network television, but the problem was that ABC was bought out by Disney right after he signed the papers. That's kind of like buying a house and then the next day finding out that a shopping mall is being built next to that house. So suddenly this super family-friendly network was in charge of the Dana Carvey show. And infamously, the first episode began with Dana Carvey doing a very funny impression of Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton is talking about how he wants to reinvent himself, rebrand himself as the nurturing president. So they built this rig and they put it into Dana Carvey's, Dana Carvey basically rips open his jacket and exposes all of these, nipples that, and they start shoving dogs into his chest, and he starts, breastfeeding these dogs. And this was the first 5 minutes of a show that came right after Home Improvement, Yeah. If you've never seen the Dana Carvey show, I think all the episodes right now are on Hulu, and there's actually also a really great documentary on Hulu as well about the making of that show. So they interview all the people who were involved in the show, and a lot of big people, we know now started on that show, like Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert. That was their first break, But the show only ran for 8 episodes, and they only ran 7 of them. And this is why, because the show was just so daring and had all these outlandish sight gags. And it came on after Home Improvement. And I think so many people just stopped watching the show because essentially every single episode would start out with with a sketch that was so grotesque that it would make everybody except the very hardcore viewers, tune it out. So there was a very notorious incident on the Dana Carvey show on like episode 3 or 4 where it followed an episode of Home Improvement that if you were maybe in the 8th grade or something in 1996, you'll remember this. There was an episode of Home Improvement that jumped the shark in a big way. In an unapologetic way. They had Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who was the hot star on that show. He got a cancer scare on Home Improvement. There was an episode where he went into the doctor, and the doctor found like a lump or something. And so it was a very emotional, very tragic, very special episode of Home Improvement that was just a ratings hound for ABC. And of course, all of those people who have been crying over Jonathan Taylor Thomas possibly dying on Home Improvement did not want to stick around for the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey show where he breastfeeds dogs, But it's a sad thing though, because again, I think that the Dana Carvey show, like a lot of entertainment, is something that we might all enjoy. It was put together by very talented people. I mean, some of the hottest talent in the world, in the comedy world that we know now, put together that show, but it couldn't survive because it was just, unfortunately, it was miscontextualized. People didn't have the right narrative thread. It didn't make sense to them, So, yeah, I highly suggest watching the Dana Carvey show because fortunately we live in a world where all the stuff that we were too young and too naive to accept back in the day, we can now watch it, where it's contextualized a little better. I mean, I don't know, honestly, if I remember watching a couple episodes of the Dana Carvey show back in the day, I think because I was probably watching Home Improvement, I was 14. Sue me. I liked, Tim Allen. I liked his shtick. The way he's like, oh, I don't know. What does he do on that show? Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know. He does that like man grunt. You know, and you got Wilson behind the fence. You never see his face or anything. And I always thought that the guy who played Wilson was like horribly disfigured or something, but I didn't realize it was just a gimmick. But honestly, I don't know if I would have watched the Dana Carvey show if it had not been contextualized for me with that really good, documentary. You know, because I love documentaries, and especially documentaries about old, forgotten sketch shows, and especially documentaries about failures. You know, I love that stuff. It's my junk food. Speaking about junk food, this is my junk food, my news junk food of the day. You know, sometimes on your phone, I don't even know how it happens, but you just get blasted with articles about things that you do not care about at all, about the entertainment industry, and they keep throwing you headlines after headline after headline. Until finally you just like, God damn it, okay, finally, I'll open it, you know, and read about it, so you can stop bothering me about this, you know. Like, for a while last summer, it was all about how Martin Scorsese was dismissing the Marvel films as theme park rides. I don't care about, okay, I understand. Just from that right there, I know exactly what this story is going to be, okay, so I don't need to read it. But they kept on giving it to me day after day after day on my phone. I had no idea, no way to turn off the notifications to tell them to stop sending me that stuff. I guess I could have figured it out if I wanted to, but I don't know. I guess I like to bitch about it, but you know. And then for a while, it was all about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were in some kind of like a libel lawsuit. Like I have no idea what's going on there, but my phone kept on like sending me headlines about it. And then this week, it's been all about, you know, Ellen Degeneres. And my phone keeps on wanting to tell me about Ellen DeGeneres, and all this. And I was like, whatever. I don't even need to. The only thing I know about Ellen DeGeneres, this year anyway, is that she has talked about this being the last year of her long-running, you know, talk show, you know. But apparently something has been happening over at the Ellen DeGeneres show where people are claiming that they were mistreated by Ellen, that Ellen's not nice to them or something. You know, so again, I finally just last night opened up my phone and started reading about it. And so, yeah, it was, and that was just a junk food. That was like eating chips at the time and drinking a Coca-Cola and reading about Ellen DeGeneres. So it was just on all accounts, junk food, you know. So if you don't know who Ellen DeGeneres is, you know, she made headlines back in the 90s because she, a lot of people thought that, I guess she was a heterosexual female, and, you know, she had a very successful sitcom on at the time called Ellen, as was popular in the 90s. If you were a comedian, you had a sitcom about your daily life, and it was named after you, you know, so like Ellen or Seinfeld. Those are the only two off the top of my head I can think about, you know. But she was very famous on that show for having an episode where she actually came out of the closet on the air. And it was a huge event. Everybody watched it. And I think it was on ABC at the time also, along with the Dana Carvey show and the Cancer Scare Home Improvement show. So, but Ellen's show, I think what happened is that that's great that she, came out of the closet, but I think what happened is that it was revealed to really just be a ratings ploy because the show was on the, downturn. And like a year later or something, her show was canceled. But she was still a big celebrity. She did a lot of stand-up, and a couple of years later, she got her own talk show, which is still running to this day. And it's a talk show that is known for being very positive and upbeat, something that you can turn on your television in the middle of the day and just smile along with her, you know. And she's got guests that she's kind of notorious for, like, surprising on set. Like, you know, she'll have a guest sitting there and somebody will pop out of a box that's sitting like right next to him or something like that, which never strikes me as funny. That strikes me as kind of cruel right there, because I don't like to be scared. And I mean, how do we know that these celebrities don't have some kind of like a serious heart condition that they're not hiding? But anyway, it's Ellen Degeneres has always been, very perceived in the public as being a very kind, very generous, very giving person. And reading this article last night that Vox wouldn't leave me alone with, they kept on talking about how she was, like her, I guess a slogan that she has on her show is "Be kind," right? So anyway. So yeah, I'm looking at this article right now on Vox. Let me put it on the live stream for any of those who are watching. Where is it? Shoot, I can't pull it up. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So, how Ellen DeGeneres' facade of kindness crumbled. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but apparently the allegations is that she hasn't been paying her staff during the pandemic. She cut her staff back to 4 people during the pandemic. Okay, I think this is a little unfair because during the pandemic, everybody has had to cut back staff. It's really kind of amazing that I still have a job, honestly. But a lot of people have lost work. My wife has lost work. A lot of people have lost work during this thing. And just because Ellen DeGeneres has a lot of money doesn't mean that, it all goes back into paying her staff. I think what they're saying, though, is that she just wasn't communicating with them about when they would get paid. So, obviously that's not something you want to do as a boss. But, this whole thing apparently stems from like last November. She had Dakota Johnson, who is the daughter of Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson, these two 80s icons. She was interviewing Dakota Johnson about her birthday party, and I saw the interview. The interview was posted in this article, and it's so throwaway. Ellen just wants to know, Dakota, why didn't you invite me to your birthday party? And Dakota says, I did invite you. I sent you an invitation. This is an exchange that in the life of anyone else living on this planet who's not on television every day for an hour would be so throwaway. It would be a throwaway conversation. But because it's on television and it's documented for the record, it's something that we all have to put under a microscope to be like, oh, Ellen was invited to somebody's party and she lied about not getting it. So because apparently what happened was that very night somebody went and found Ellen DeGeneres' travel itinerary, I guess, because it's that important to them. Found out that Ellen DeGeneres was at a Houston Astros game on the night of Dakota Johnson's 30th birthday party with sitting next to George H.W. Bush, okay, the former president. And this, of course, brought on further scrutiny for DeGeneres, because DeGeneres, of course, is gay, and there she is. She's sitting next to a former Republican president whose administration supported anti-LGBTQ policies. And so apparently they can't be sitting next to each other during lunchtime, I guess, And so it was this article that made me so angry that I was getting, like, they just weren't letting it go away, And I don't know. I guess the news that I would say to anybody who's really disturbed by this is that, people on television are not as necessarily nice as they appear. Okay, I don't think that that's really a surprise. I don't think you can be in show business for as long as somebody like Ellen DeGeneres. She's been around since the mid-'80s. I have like an old comedy album from the 80s somewhere in my iTunes or whatever, and Ellen DeGeneres is on it. I don't think you can survive in show business that long without being a little bit cutthroat. I think it's pretty normal. But the most shocking thing of this is that this guy named Kevin T. Porter, who is a podcasting guy, he's a podcaster. posted this tweet, and it's on this Vox article. He says, right now we all need a little kindness, like Ellen Degeneres always talks about. And then there's these sarcastic emojis. She's also notoriously one of the meanest people alive, he says. Respond to this with the most insane stories you've ever heard about Ellen being mean, and I'll match everyone with a $2 donation to a food bank. All right, now, I got to think about that for a second, because for one, this guy is talking about how the world needs kindness, but here he is openly inviting a character assassination and doing it on a forum like Twitter, which I honestly think that, if anybody is going to come on Twitter and post something like this, then they can't purport to support or, not support or protest against somebody like President Trump, because this is kind of the stuff that Trump is always doing. He's always using Twitter as a forum to assassinate people's character. So I'm going to go out on a ledge and just and assume, because that's what you do on Twitter, that this guy is probably not a Trump supporter. But the idea, though, of giving people an incentive to assassinate somebody's character and go on without any kind of evidence, without any kind of corroboration to back up your story, is the most insane, just kind of libel, and does not get you a special seat next to God in heaven, So, again, why did I start talking about all this? Well, because I think we live in a world where context is absolutely everything, and everybody's constantly fighting to make their context known before they can sort of put their content out there. And so for many, many years, Ellen's context has been absolutely untarnished. And there's something that I don't want to be a conspiracy theory guy or anything like this, but this sounds to me, honestly, like if Ellen has talked openly about this being the last year of her show, this very well could be some kind of like an underground smear campaign that's going on here. Or the fact also, there's also the idea that we're living in a world right now where we seem to be purging ourselves of every entertainer from the establishment so that we can make room for a new kind of media, a new kind of entertainment, whatever you want to call it, a new world order of entertainment, I guess. And, that could be just a world full of podcasters and YouTube. I don't know. God, I hope not, because as much as I like podcasting, I don't want more people like me influencing what happens in the world. So, all right, I'm going to go away for a second and enjoy some music. And this is the Midnight Citizen Show. Stick around. We've still got more to talk about.
Well, the time has come. I hope that you're ready. Time to get moving. Everybody rock steady. It's time. Now it's time. Get on the ball. Get on the right track. No time to lose. There's no looking back. It's time. I said it's time. Hey, now what you gonna do if that passes you by? You get left alone and wonder why. The time is now. No hesitating. You got the green light. Tell me, why are you waiting? It's time. I said it's time. Shake it up. Let it be free. He's got the idea right there. Talking, if you can't hit your ride, you better start walking. It's time. I said it's time. Oh, get on the ball, get on the right track. No time to lose, no looking back. It's time. Ooh, I said it's time. 2, 3, 4. Lord, passes you by. You get left alone, you wonder why. Well, the time is now, no hesitating. You got the green light, ooh, why are you waiting this time? I said it's time. Talk to me, boys. I like it, I like it. Hey, hey, hey. Lord, Lord, what you gonna do? That passes you by. You get left alone, you wonder why. I said the clock is ticking, there's no time for talking. If you can't hitch a ride, you better start walking, it's time. He knows it's time. Good time, man. I said it's time. I mean it's time. Whip it.
Waste 9 moments away. Down another better today. What we alright? I say, hey, it'll be alright. Every time I turn around, I give it up for run. You're all about the things you see. The more you give you terrible dreams. We hope you're awake, 'cause it's still not battle of that done. You can far from our way. Prison others of the jail. Every time I turn around, I give it up for easy. What we alright? I say, hey, it'll be alright. Every time I turn around, I give it up for hey, let's go cruise the day. I'll take you away. I'll take you away. Can't move any more. Any more places for Jimmy, yeah.
Ho! And we're back. Hope you enjoyed that music. That was a couple of good ditties there. Couple good, like, that was kind of like rockabilly music there. First was kind of swing, though. It's Time by Big Sandy and his Fly Right Boys. I could just picture Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn swinging around to that music there in that movie. Then following that, we had a song called Rip Van Winkle by Shannon and the Clams. Probably the best rockabilly tune, inspired by a short story by Washington Irving. Ken. Get these effects. Yes. Okay. Well, anyway. Well, hey, everybody. It's Mike. On day one of our show, I told everyone in our first meeting that the Midnight Citizen would be a place of happiness, a place of respect. No one would ever raise their voice, and everyone would be treated as they wanted to be treated. Obviously, something changed, and I am disappointed to learn that this has not been the case. And for that, I am sorry. Anyone who knows me knows it's the opposite of what I believe and what I hoped for the show. So, stay safe and healthy. Mike, the Midnight Citizen Booty. I just searched on the internet for boilerplate apology letter, and that was it, because it just seems like every single week we're just hearing a new apology. And I know that these are very serious issues that have to be addressed. You know, one claim that is coming out of this whole Ellen fiasco is that senior producers are, sexually harassing low-level staffers at the Ellen show, and Ellen either doesn't know anything about this or, she's complicit. She's knowing something. She's not saying anything. This is the old, Jerry Sandusky thing, So I don't know. I hope none of this is true, but, at least for their sake, for the people who are making these allegations. And, if they're untrue, then I feel bad for Ellen, but I don't know. I guess the thing is that, I don't know, one of the reasons I opened that article was not just to engage in some kind of journalistic junk food, but because I care about Ellen, I'm not going to be like that YouTube kid who's like, leave Ellen alone, I'm not going to be like that at all. I'm glad I have a compressor here. That would have gotten a lot louder, but, But I've always liked Ellen Degeneres a lot, even back in the 80s or the 90s, when I was going to church and everybody was telling me at church, not to watch her show. It's a filthy show. I liked her. I respected her because I thought she is, like, as long as she's funny, I don't care, Anyway. That was my experience going to church in the 1990s, that I was constantly being told, like, to hate things and not watch certain shows on television. And at one moment I was told not to go to Disney World, and I was like, well, I'm not going to Disney World anyway. It's too expensive, but, so... But, the weird thing is, though, is that Ellen DeGeneres, because she comes on 5 days a week now, and she's been doing it for the last, 20 years or something like that. She's appreciated this kind of, or she's enjoyed this kind of, camaraderie with the conservative Christian community. It's very strange, because they went from just being really cold to her in the 90s to suddenly she's coming out, she's like, dancing with the crowd, and she's not making, like, I think everybody was just afraid that they were going to make her gayness part of her act or something. That's what she was going to do. But she's not, she just seems to be like a very harmless, innocent person all the time. And I guess she was just kind of like the cool gay celebrity that Christians could get with for all these years and all that. And I think that that's all the more reason to think that there may be something a little bit more sinister going on behind the scenes to discredit Ellen. But for years, it was a very common thing to hear from like these, conservative Christian good old boys here in the South. They would always say things like this, that Ellen, I don't care what you say about her. I don't care what she does. It's just, she is awesome. She's just funny. She's a funny, funny lady. And I don't care who she lays down with. I don't care who her girlfriend is, anything like that. You can say whatever you want to. She's just funny. And so they would always like have that caveat that, they had to mention her personal life in relation to how funny she is. And that's a weird double standard, because that's generally not what, happens. That's the kind of thing you say with like Bill Cosby, like, hey, Bill Cosby, I got to tell you, I know he did some wrong things, but he is funny. He is in those old Jell-O pudding pop commercials, he was funny, It's like you always have to say that when you talk about criminals, disgraced criminals. But, Ellen, though, it's like everybody down here has always treated her as if she's some kind of like, she's got that skeleton in her closet that we all know about. But God damn it, she's just awesome. She's just funny. So, I don't know. I think that's, that's, and now I don't know what all those Southern good old boys are going to say about Ellen. They're probably just going to be like, you know what? I knew it all along. I knew it all along. Have I gone on too long about Ellen? Yeah, I have. But, it's been on my mind today. What can I say, let's talk about something else. Okay, so we're going to do a toast here in just a second. And like the last episode, where we did a sad toast, we did a sad toast to the passing of Regis Philbin. I'm afraid we're going to have to do the same thing this week. To a very, I won't say he's a celebrity. I will say he's a very notorious individual here in Alabama who passed away a couple of weeks ago. This gentleman named Harvey Updyke. Anybody who is a fan of Alabama football or the Paul Feinbaum show here in Alabama knows who Harvey Updyke is. But Harvey Updyke is the world's most deranged, or was the most deranged Alabama football fan. So I went to the University of Alabama, and they've won a lot of national championships. Now, I am not, a big Alabama football fan, right? And I went down to the University of Alabama not being a big football fan, but I know that there are a lot of people in my circle of friends who are big Alabama football fans. So if I screw up anything here, okay, cut me some slack a little bit. But I know who Harvey Updyke is. As little as I know about Alabama football, I know who Harvey Updyke is. In 2010, there was a very contentious Iron Bowl that was played. Now, the Iron Bowl, again, for those uninitiated into the world of the Southeastern Conference, is a game that's played every single year between rivals, the University of Alabama and University of Auburn. Okay, and so they're both Alabama universities, and they meet on the gridiron, usually in November at the end of the season, the regular season, to play a game. And it's a no matter where either team, is in the standings, it's always a very important game, because it's like everybody in Alabama has one team, Alabama or Auburn. And I always get asked that question, by anybody new that I meet here in Alabama. They always ask me, because it's a way of breaking the ice. Of course, in Alabama, we don't have much ice, but it's a way of breaking it anyway. They say, are you an Alabama or an Auburn fan? So my standard stock answer is, well, I went to the Alabama, and they're like, hell yeah, roll tide. It's like, well, let me finish. I went to the University of Alabama. Oh my God, don't say it. No, I just don't really care that much. Oh my God. For a second there, I thought you were going to say Auburn. Hey, you like Ellen? So I just don't care. I didn't care, about Alabama football. But down there, it was really impossible to get away from. So anyway, I graduated from the University of Alabama in 2006, right? And then 4 years later, 2010, there was an Iron Bowl where Alabama and Auburn met up, and I guess Auburn won that game. Auburn won the game. And this man named Harvey Updyke calls into this very popular sports talk show a few days later. The guy's name is Paul Feinbaum. I think this is actually a couple months later because the Iron Bowl is played in November, and he calls up in early January. And Harvey Updyke, well, maybe I should just play the call for you. I'm just going to play the call. So this is a very famous call in the history of Alabama football. All right, so I should say this, okay, before I play this clip, that every time Auburn wins a big game, they go to their campus quad, and there's these trees there at this intersection. It's called Toomer's Corners, and they roll the trees. It never makes sense because when you roll something, you usually do it to spite somebody, but they roll their own trees. I don't understand that. It's like spitting on your own floor to me because somebody's got to clean that up. But anyway, they do it. And so they take toilet paper and they, throw it on the trees and all that. It's supposed to mark their big victory. So after Auburn won this Iron Bowl, all the people in Auburn went to Toomer's Corners and they rolled the trees. So a couple months later, in early January, Paul Feinbaum on his very popular, afternoon sports talk show gets this call. So I'll play this now.
Al is in Dadeville, Alabama. Hey, Al.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
Well, thanks.
I should say, by the way, that he called in under the name Al, and Al, of course, is the name of the Alabama Crimson Tide mascot, which is an elephant, Big Al. So
when Bear Bryant died, I was living in Texas, and I really didn't understand the Alabama-Auburn rivalry. But a good friend of mine that lived in Birmingham sent me a copy of the newspaper showing the Auburn students rolling Toomer's Corner celebrating Bryant's death.
Now stop. I even though I know what you just got through saying, and even though I know you're quoting from a newspaper, I just have the most difficult time ever believing that Auburn students rolled Toomer's Corner when the news broke that Coach Bryant died. Does anyone else remember that? I don't.
Do you want me to send you a copy of I still have a newspaper clipping.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of awkward here because I'm not doubting your truthfulness. I'm just, are you guys in the other room in as much shock as I am? That is just one of the most shocking things I've ever heard. I do not want to believe that is true.
Okay, let me finish my story.
Okay.
This year I was at the Iron Bowl.
There's no way that could be true.
Well, okay. This year I was at the Iron Bowl.
Okay.
And I saw where they put a Scam Newton jersey on Bear Bryant's statue.
Okay, I mean, again, that's 28 years later.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what I did. The weekend after the Iron Bowl, I went to Auburn, Alabama, because I lived 30 miles away,
Sure.
and I poisoned the two Toomer's trees.
Okay, well, that's fair.
I put Spike 80 DF in them.
Did they die?
Do what?
Did they die?
They're not dead yet, but they definitely will die.
Is that against the law to poison a tree?
Well, do you think I care?
No.
Okay, I really don't.
Okay.
Roll down Tide.
So that's what that call, which sounded like it was a prank, because you could hear Paul Feinbaum kind of laughing it off, and he's like, okay, that's fair. Somebody puts the jersey of the Auburn quarterback on the statue of, the University of Alabama's greatest coach, probably the greatest football coach in college history. And in retaliation, you drive down to Auburn and poison two trees that have been standing there for generations. So the guy, it was a tree. It actually happened. He poisoned those two trees. They ended up having to cut them down. There was a big investigation to the fact that, did the poison seep down into the water table because it could have poisoned the water supply? It was a big thing. The guy ended up going to jail for a certain time, and I think he eventually got out a year later. Served probation. He had to pay money back, but he died last week at the age of 71. So the guy is Harvey Updyke. That's what his name turned out to be, right? Harvey Updyke was such a big Alabama fan that he named his daughter Crimson. He named his son Bear after, of course, Bear Bryant, and he decided to go down and poison, these two trees after Auburn beat his team. So, it obviously generated a lot of press down here, and especially at the national level, about just the extent, the extent of the fandom, in Alabama over football. And when I was at the university, I certainly saw it. It's like it can get very, very nasty on game days down there, especially if it's an Iron Bowl. There are, fights can break out. It's a very touchy time over this thing. And it's something that growing up in Alabama, it never really just got to me. I never really understood it that much, because to me, it's one of these things that, like, I understand pride for your school and I understand pride for your country, but your entire life being decided over something that ultimately you have no stake in the outcome of is never really, I never understood that. And I mean, people have yet to be able to explain it for me. I guess it's just something that you sort of just have to organically grow into. But I also think, though, that throughout this, throughout history, there have certainly been, attaching yourself to something that you have no control over is kind of a good substitute in a way for mental illness. Like, you can't deal with your own problems inside your head, so you would rather deal with something else that you have no control over. So I think that may be it. So I actually found this afternoon, Harvey Updyke actually called Paul Feinbaum back on November 8th, 2019. Okay. And so this is the last time I believe he talked to Feinbaum. This is years later. He's been out of jail for years, but he's still, the interesting thing about this whole mess is that it actually brought Alabama and Auburn kind of closer together. It almost gave them a sense of like a ceasefire for a brief time. Alabama fans raised money to take care of the trees down at Tumor Corner, to replant new ones. So here he is on the Paul Feinbaum show last November.
You didn't mean it? You went to a store and bought poison? You poisoned trees and you didn't mean it?
Paul, they're only trees. Not like I tried to kill their crow thing that flies around, or I didn't try to kill LSU's tiger.
Harvey,
You still there?
we've had this conversation privately, but we're going to have it publicly. You still don't get it, do you?
Oh, Paul, I get it. I'm not as dumb as I look. It's supposed to be a joke.
I mean,
I get it Paul, I get it very much. I know exactly what's going
Harvey,
on.
you destroyed something that is near and dear to an entire university and its fan base, and you're coming on this program right now and laughing about it, joking about it, and casting aspersions toward this school. When you broke a lot of people's heart when you poisoned those trees, and I don't know that many Alabama fans. I don't know, frankly, know any Alabama fans who thought it was a good idea either.
Well, I know a few, but most of them, you're right, most of them didn't. But I didn't do it for the University of Alabama. I did it for me, Paul. And yeah, it was wrong.
Well, you just got through saying
they're
just Harvey. You just got through saying they're just trees.
They are. That's all they were. I mean, they act like there was a living person or something.
Those trees were near and dear to many people's hearts. They were a part of their heritage. They're also national monuments.
I don't know about all that now. I didn't see no sign up that said it was national monument.
Well,
Paul,
I mean,
can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything you want, Harvey.
Okay, why are you hacking on me so much?
Because I think you're an idiot, Harvey. I think you're a lunatic. Because you
I can't. Jesus. So, you guys out there may know more about Harvey Updyke than I do, but I am going to drink a toast to the guy because I think he was just misguided. I don't think any rational person would do something like that. Again, this is what I'm talking about tonight. This is the night of looking at people and looking at certain things in context with a different point of view, you know? I don't think Harvey Updyke was a guy who cared so much about one thing in his life that he had to poison trees over it. I think he was just a mentally ill person who needed an outlet. So wherever he is, I hope that he finally got the help he needed. So raise your glasses. This one's to Harvey Updyke, dead at 71. Yeah. So I'm about to read a poem here in just a minute. We're not going to take a trip to the Video Street video store tonight. In the interest of kind of, I just, you know, we watched 2 videos just now, and just in the interest of keeping the show a little bit shorter tonight, I'm going to read a poem, okay? And this poem is called 10 Things I Hate About You, COVID. Because here we are, and it's early August, and I'm about to return back to school. And I was really thinking here that back in March, you know, when this whole thing happened, that we were going to be totally fine by this time. And we were all going to go inside for a few weeks, and this, you know, the air was going to warm up, and this COVID-19 and coronavirus would just be gone. But that's not the case. I think a lot of it's because this is just a really stubborn virus that refuses to leave us alone. And I think it's also because we are very stubborn and refuse to not follow recommendations made by people who understand what they're talking about, you know, like top men, you know. And truth be told, I'm dreading going back to work. I am excited about going back to work, but I'm also dreading it. I'm excited about waking up every morning and having a place to go. I'm excited about seeing my students again. I'm excited about talking again about things that I care about all day long. You know, that's all that you can wish for in a job, is just to wake up every morning and go someplace that you enjoy being at. But I am dreading wearing a mask all day. You know, I'm dreading going in all day and just feeling that, you know, hot moisture, you know, that collects on that cloth mask when you've been talking into it. I'm dreading having to eat everything through a face shield, like John Travolta in that movie where he's in the bubble, you know, and just dreading a lot of it, you know. So I wrote a poem called 10 Things I Hate About You, COVID, inspired by the great film from oh so many years ago. Here it goes. Get a shot of whiskey first. I hate the way you stalk me and the way you're in the air. I hate the way you make me always wear a mask, and if I don't, I hate the way people stare. I hate the way you make me air high five and give air fist bumps to boot. I hate you so much it makes me sick, which is your intended vibe. I hate the way you're out of sight, but never out of mind. I hate the way you make us fight and make us be unkind. But mostly, I hate the way you won't go away. Not for a minute, not for an hour, and not for a day. keep in mind, I teach kids how to write for a living. So normally, people pay me to do what I just did here for you for free. So there you go. All right, that's going to do it for tonight's Midnight Citizen Show. Thank you so much for joining me here in the studio in Birmingham, Alabama. Remember, I am live over at MikeBooty.com/The Midnight Citizen. That's where you can find my shows, my archives, my writing, everything. I may not publish that poem. I don't know. It may not be ready for prime time. But anyway. What else we got? Also over at YouTube.com/MikeBooty. You can find me at Facebook.com/The Midnight Citizen. Twitter @MikeBooty. I'm everywhere. And yeah. I said at the beginning that I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen with this show now that summer's over and school's starting again. Am I going to be able to do this every Saturday night? It does take up quite a bit of time, but I am going to try my best to continue the show. The best way to kind of ensure that this show continues, if you're listening right now, what I would really appreciate is for you to share this with somebody, okay? Now, I've never asked this of anybody before. If you like the Midnight Citizen Show and you enjoy it, okay, I would ask you, and you don't have to go on Facebook or Twitter or whatever and give links or anything like that. I would ask you just to tell somebody about it, okay? Tell somebody about the Midnight Citizen Show. I've never done this before, okay? But I have done a lot of work on this show this summer, and it's been very important to me. And this has been one of the most productive summers I've ever had, honestly. I wrote down things that I did this summer. Where is it? I don't know. Yeah, I built a new website for the Midnight Citizen Show. That's one thing I did. I did 8 Midnight Citizen podcasts. This episode makes 9. I wrote 99 pages of original short fiction for this show. If you have been listening to me this summer, you know that I've been writing these Tales from Viscaga, Alabama. And I've completed 5 of them. And I meant to do more, but just summer got in the way. But all in all, I put them onto one document the other night. It came out to 99 pages that I wrote for this podcast since mid-May. That's a bunch of stuff for me. So I put a lot of work into the show this summer, and I'm not trying to seek gratitude or anything like that at all. I do this show first and foremost for me. Okay, that's that whiskey getting to me. All right, but I would like to continue it. But in order to continue it, what I would really like is just some response. Okay, and I've never done this before on the show. All right. But if you are listening right now, I would encourage you to just tell somebody about the show. Go to work. Just tell somebody, this is what I listen to on Saturday night, okay? And maybe we can start building up a little bit of a network tonight, okay? And that would be awesome. That would be fantastic. Just a fantastic Midnight Citizen network. This is something I never do. I never go on here begging anybody, okay? Every time the NPR pledge drive comes on, I turn the station off. All right? I don't like this. I don't like doing this. But you know what? Desperate times call for desperate measures. I want to continue to do this show, But it also has to feel like, I'm coming here every week and it sort of has a little bit of meaning to somebody else out there other than me, Because that, like it or not, I'm a human being, and that gives me a little bit of drive if somebody else out there sort of cares about this crap other than me. So anyway, yes, but thank you so much again for listening to the Midnight Citizen Show and listening to that rant that I just went on. And I will see you next time. Yes, keep your eyes open. think I got a little carried away there at the end. Look at that. Okay, this is amazing, though. This is the first week since May that I've recorded the show where my recording software has not crashed on me. That's amazing. So every week I record this show 2 different ways, you know, and that's important to do if you ever do a podcast. You always want to have a redundancy. So I record it here on my open broadcaster system, but I also record it on my Vegas editing machine. And Vegas keeps crashing on me. No matter what I do, no matter what changes I make to it, it crashes on me every week. This is the first time it hasn't crashed. And I think that may have something to do with the fact that I've done a shorter show this week, so I don't know. I don't know how long this show has been, but anyway. Yeah, but roll damn tide! There is something a lot of fun about football season. And the way that what I like about football season is I like the ambience of football, kind of like the way that I like the ambience of like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade on Thanksgiving morning. I like it in the background. You know, I never can actively watch it. And I think the reason being is that, you know, growing up, my dad was not a big football fan. And I think like you always need that sort of initiation. You know, you need somebody in your family, somebody very, very close to you to initiate you into the world of Alabama football or any kind of sport. And it was just never there for me. You know, my dad always had Alabama football games on. He would watch it every week, but he wouldn't be like having all his buddies over and there would just be like, you know, a table full of nachos and beer and all that. And it would just be something he would put on while he like read the newspaper. And so it never really mattered that much to me. I didn't really care about it. And then, of course, when I was in high school, my best friend was a rabid Alabama fan. And we would always hang out on Saturday, and he would always say, come over, we can go rent a movie after the Alabama game's over. So I'd always try to time my visits to where I would get there during the fourth quarter, so I wouldn't have to sit there and watch the whole game with them, because if Alabama was having a bad game, as they did back in those days, because this would have been like during I think it was like during the Mike Price coaching days, my best friend, he would just get up and freak out. You know, he would punch pillows. He would like go into the bathroom and just like put his head under the sink. I don't know. You know, it was really bad. And then when the game was over and they lost, he would be like, I don't feel like doing anything tonight, you know. I was just like, man, what madness is this? So, you know, he never went and poisoned trees at Auburn, though. He never did that, so that's good. So anyway, but thank you so much for sticking with me through the whole stream tonight. I will see you. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be here next week. Okay, but yeah, tell somebody about my show. Okay, if you tell one friend and they tell one friend and they tell one friend, you know. All right, I'll see you later from the top of the pyramid.